Welcome to the Allison Knows podcast. Are you ready for a deep dive today?
Always.
Okay, good. Let's dive into the book of Revelation.
Mm.
It's the one with all the wild imagery and the prophecies and all that stuff. We've got a ton of sources here, notes, excerpts, study guides.
Oh, wow.
And we're gonna unpack all of it starting right now.
Sounds good to me. It's fascinating, this book, isn't it? People have been kind of intrigued and puzzled by it for centuries. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle, of symbolism and prophecy.
Yeah. Okay, so first things first, just to kind of set the stage. The book of Revelation was written by John, right?
Right.
And he was exiled on the island of Patmos.
Not exactly a vacation spot.
No, not a fun place to be. And it's there that he receives these intense visions from Jesus Christ.
And I think what's really interesting about those visions is that they're described as things which must shortly come to pass. So there's an urgency, right? There's this feeling that something big is about to happen.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Right from the get-go, it's like we're thrown into this world of divine revelation and like impending change. It's a powerful setup.
Absolutely. And one of the first things that happens is that John writes these letters to 7 churches in Asia Minor.
Right.
And these aren't, your typical, how are you doing letters.
Like pass the salt kind of letters.
Yeah, exactly. Each one is like almost like a message of like encouragement or warning or sometimes even rebuke,
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like a spiritual checkup for each of these churches.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the church in Ephesus, they're praised for their works, but they're criticized for losing their first love.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch. But it's a good reminder, I think, for any of us, right?
Absolutely.
To make sure our faith is still, burning bright.
Right, exactly. And even though these letters were addressed to specific churches, they hold like these timeless lessons for believers, really, throughout history, offering this guidance on navigating challenges and the temptations of the world that often opposes God.
Yeah. Yeah. So even though these churches existed centuries ago, their struggles and their triumphs can still speak to us today.
Totally.
Yeah.
And they also highlight how diverse the experiences were within the early church,
Right.
Each church had its own, like, unique set of circumstances and challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of challenges, things are about to get a lot more intense.
Yeah.
As we move into kind of the heart of Revelation, the apocalyptic visions.
Here's where the imagery gets really wild.
Yeah.
John describes this series of events that foreshadow the end of the world as we know it. It's a time of judgment and tribulation and ultimately the triumph of good over evil.
Yeah, okay, so picture this. The Lamb, who is Jesus,
Right.
opens 7 seals on a scroll.
Oh, boy.
And with each seal that's broken, all kinds of crazy things start happening.
All kinds of crazy things, yes. The first 4 unleash the infamous 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
I was going to say, here come the horsemen.
Conquest, war, famine, and death.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, who hasn't heard of the 4 horsemen, right?
Right, exactly.
They're like the ultimate symbol of the end times.
Yeah. But it's important to remember, I think, that they're not just random forces of destruction.
Right.
They actually represent the consequences of humanity's rebellion against God.
Ooh.
It's a stark reminder of what happens when we turn away from the Creator.
Yeah. So it's not just about the end of the world, but also about the consequences of our choices, both individually and collectively.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the following seals reveal even more upheaval. Earthquakes, falling stars, a darkened sun. It's like this picture of the entire created order being shaken to its core.
It's enough to make you want to hide under a rock.
It is, but even in the midst of all this chaos, there is this sense that God is still in control.
Yeah, absolutely.
The book of Revelation isn't just about fear and destruction.
Right.
It's also about hope and redemption.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And speaking of hope, there's one group that seems to be protected from all this turmoil, the 144,000.
Oh, yeah, the 144,000. Who are these folks anyway?
So the text describes them as servants of God from the 12 tribes of Israel who are sealed and protected from the coming judgment.
Okay.
And some people interpret that very literally,
right.
That it's this specific group of chosen people. Others see it more symbolically as this faithful remnant, those who remained true to God amidst all the chaos.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's one of the fascinating things about Revelation is it invites these different interpretations, and it encourages us to, grapple with these deeper meanings.
Yeah. And you know what else is really fascinating? The imagery of this cosmic war that's happening in heaven. You've got the Archangel Michael,
Oh, yeah.
and his angels are battling against, wait for it,
A dragon.
a dragon. And that dragon is none other than Satan himself,
Right.
the ultimate deceiver, the
Uh-huh.
enemy of God.
It's like something out of a fantasy novel or something.
It is.
But this battle isn't just, for spectacle. It really represents this spiritual battle
Right.
that's raging all around us
Yeah.
between the forces of good and evil.
Exactly. And the outcome of that battle is never in doubt.
Yeah.
Satan is defeated and cast down to earth, where he continues to work his deceptions.
So even though evil is still, present in the world, we know that it's ultimately a defeated enemy.
That's right. And that's a powerful message of hope for believers.
Yeah.
Even when things seem dark and chaotic, we can trust that God is in control and that good will ultimately triumph. That's awesome. And if you are enjoying this deep dive into Revelation, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Allison Knows on YouTube.
Yeah.
We love hearing your thoughts, so share your comments too.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back to continue our exploration. There's so much more to unpack.
There is. Welcome back to our deep dive into the book of Revelation.
So before the break, we were talking about Satan being cast down to earth.
Right.
So what's he up to now?
Well, let's just say he's not giving up without a fight.
Okay.
John's visions introduce two new characters, the beast from the sea and the beast from the earth.
Whoa, okay, those sound terrifying.
Yeah.
What are they all about?
Okay, so the beast from the sea, it's described as this creature with 7 heads and 10 horns and a name that blasphemes God.
Okay.
And it's a symbol of political power.
Right.
Likely a corrupt empire that opposes God and persecutes his people.
So it's not just like a literal beast. It represents something bigger, like the systems that work against God's kingdom.
The systems and structures, exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the beast from the earth, and it looks harmless on the outside, but speaks like a dragon.
Uh-oh.
It's a symbol of false prophecy and religious deception.
So it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, basically.
Exactly, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Leading people astray with lies and false promises.
Exactly, leading people astray.
Okay.
And the second beast is the one who implements the infamous mark of the beast.
Oh, yeah, the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
This is one of the most, talked about
It is.
aspects of Revelation. What does it actually represent?
It's really a symbol of allegiance to the beast. A sign that someone has chosen to follow the ways of the world instead of the ways of God.
Right. And remember, without this mark, people couldn't buy or sell anything.
That's right. Talk
about pressure to conform.
It highlights the challenges that believers face in a world that often opposes their values and beliefs. It's a choice between following God and following the crowd.
Right.
Yeah. And then there's that mysterious number associated with the beast, 666.
Ooh, gives me chills.
I know. 666 has been the subject of endless speculation and debate.
Yeah.
Some people see it as this literal code that will identify the Antichrist,
right,
while others view it as this symbolic representation of imperfection or incompleteness, like falling short of the perfect number 7, which represents God's fullness.
Okay, yeah. Interesting.
It's just fascinating how a single number can evoke so much fear and mystery.
I know.
It speaks to the power of symbolism and the way it can, tap into our deepest fears and anxieties.
Absolutely. So we've got these two beasts wreaking havoc.
Right.
A mark that forces people to choose sides.
Yes.
This mysterious number that's shrouded in speculation.
Yeah.
It's a pretty bleak picture.
It is. It is a bleak picture.
Is there any hope left for humanity?
There's always hope.
Okay.
Remember, the book of Revelation isn't just about predicting doom and gloom.
Right.
It's ultimately a message of hope and redemption for those who remain faithful to God.
Okay, so tell us about the redemption part.
Yes.
What happens to these beasts and their followers?
Well, they don't get away with their wickedness.
Okay.
John describes this series of plagues and disasters that are unleashed upon the earth, culminating in the destruction of Babylon.
Babylon. Now, there's a name that's synonymous with decadence and corruption.
Yeah.
What does Babylon represent in Revelation?
It's a symbol of the world system,
Okay.
a society that's turned away from God and embraced materialism and immorality and power.
So it's not just a literal city.
No.
It's a representation of everything that opposes God's kingdom.
Exactly, exactly.
Oh,
And Babylon's fall is this powerful reminder that God will not tolerate evil forever.
right.
Justice will ultimately prevail.
Okay, so it's not all fire and brimstone, though.
No.
John's visions also offer a glimpse of like a glorious future.
They do.
Tell us about the New Jerusalem.
Ah, the New Jerusalem.
Yeah.
This is a culmination of revelation,
Okay.
a vision of unimaginable beauty and perfection.
Wow.
It's a city made of pure gold, with streets paved with jewels and gates made of pearl.
It sounds absolutely breathtaking.
It does, it does.
Yeah.
And it represents the ultimate restoration of creation.
Okay.
A place where there's no more death or sorrow or pain, just pure joy and communion with God.
So this is the eternal reward for those who remain faithful to God through all the trials and tribulations.
Exactly.
Wow, it's like a glimpse into the ultimate happily ever after.
It is. It is. It's a reminder that even in the midst of chaos and darkness, there's this hope that transcends our current reality.
Yeah.
A hope that's rooted in God's love and faithfulness.
That's beautiful.
You know, it's easy to get caught up in the dramatic imagery of Revelation.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that it's ultimately a message of hope and encouragement for believers.
Absolutely. And it's a call to action.
Yes.
You know, it challenges us to live lives that reflect the values of God's kingdom,
Right.
to be agents of hope and transformation in a world that desperately needs it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Speaking of sharing, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this deep dive into Revelation.
Yes.
Share your comments and questions on Allison Knows on YouTube.
Yes.
And be sure to like and subscribe for more insightful content like this.
Absolutely. We're always eager to, engage with our audience and explore the depths of these fascinating biblical texts together.
Now, we've talked a lot about the symbolism
Yes.
and the message of Revelation.
Right.
But what about the actual imagery?
Yes.
I mean, John uses some pretty vivid language to describe his visions.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not your typical Sunday school stuff, that's for sure.
No, it's not your typical Sunday school stuff.
We've got beasts, dragons, angels, a woman clothed with the sun.
I know, it's a visual feast.
It really is.
It's like he's painting these epic scenes with his words.
Yet it's not just about understanding the message intellectually,
Right.
but it's about experiencing it emotionally
Yes.
and imaginatively.
Exactly. The imagery bypasses our logical minds and speaks directly to our hearts and souls.
Wow, that's good. So it's not just about deciphering the symbols,
No.
but it's about letting the images wash over us
Yes.
and evoke a sense of awe and wonder.
Precisely. For example, let's take the woman clothed with the sun.
Yeah.
She's this powerful image of God's people, both Israel and the church,
Okay.
who are chosen and protected by God.
And remember, she's giving birth,
She is.
which represents the birth of Christ,
Yes.
the Messiah, who will ultimately triumph over evil.
Exactly.
But she's being pursued by this terrifying dragon who wants to devour her child.
That's right. The dragon represents Satan, who relentlessly seeks to destroy God's people and his plans.
Right.
But even in the face of this threat, the woman is given wings to escape,
Wow.
symbolizing God's protection and provision for his people.
So it's like this cosmic chase scene.
It is. It is.
But even with all the drama and danger,
Yes.
there's this underlying message of hope, of God's faithfulness and ultimate victory.
Precisely. And that's a recurring theme throughout Revelation,
Yeah.
Even in the midst of tribulation and darkness, there's always this glimmer of hope, this promise of redemption and restoration for those who remain faithful to God.
It's like a reminder that no matter how bad things get, God is always in control,
Yes,
and he will ultimately bring about his purposes.
absolutely. And that's a powerful message for believers throughout history,
Yeah.
especially those who are facing persecution or hardship,
Right.
Revelation offers this comfort and encouragement,
Yeah.
reminding them that their suffering is temporary and that they have this eternal inheritance awaiting them in God's kingdom.
It's amazing how John just uses these really vivid images to convey such profound spiritual truths.
I know, it's like he's tapping into this universal language of symbols and archetypes that just resonates deep within us.
Yeah, totally. Okay, let's talk about another image that's kind of central to Revelation, the number 666.
Oh, yeah.
The mark of the beast.
Yes.
I mean, this number has been the subject of like endless speculation and even conspiracy theories.
It's certainly one of the most intriguing and debated aspects of Revelation.
Yes.
And as we discussed earlier, it's associated with that second beast,
Right.
the one who deceives people into worshiping the first beast and receiving its mark.
Right. And remember, without this mark, you couldn't buy or sell anything.
That's right. It's like the ultimate form of economic control and social exclusion.
Yeah, talk about pressure to conform. It's intense.
It is. It represents the power of conformity, the pressure to compromise one's faith in exchange for basic necessities and acceptance.
Right.
It's a powerful reminder of the challenges believers face in navigating a world that often rejects or even persecutes those who stand for God.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does the number 666 actually mean? Like, is it a code to be deciphered? Does it point to like a specific person or entity?
Well, that's where the interpretations diverge.
Yeah.
Some believe it's a literal number that will somehow identify the Antichrist,
Okay.
or a future world leader who will embody the beast's power.
Mm.
Others see it as this symbolic representation of imperfection or incompleteness, as 666 falls short of that perfect number 7, which represents God's fullness and completion.
Right, right. And there are those who believe that the number is linked to the Roman Emperor Nero,
Oh, interesting.
whose name, when calculated according to a certain numerical system, could add up to 666.
Wow. So it's like a puzzle with multiple possible solutions.
Yeah, it really is.
And maybe that's intentional.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's meant to make us think critically and engage with the text on a deeper level.
I think so. Yeah, Revelation is full of symbolism and allegory, and it definitely invites us to grapple with its meaning and apply its message to our own lives.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed by all this.
Yeah, a lot.
Angels, dragons, beasts, plagues, numbers, it's a lot to process.
It is a lot to process.
So where do we go from here? What's the takeaway message for us today?
That's a great question. And while Revelation may seem, complex and even daunting at times,
Right.
its core message is actually quite simple. God wins.
Yeah, God wins.
Get out.
It's a reminder that no matter what challenges we face in this life,
Right.
God is ultimately in control and he will bring about his purposes.
That's right.
And for those who remain faithful to him, there's an eternal reward awaiting them in the New Jerusalem.
Exactly. Revelation is a call to perseverance, to stand firm in our faith, even in the midst of tribulation and temptation.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that our present suffering is temporary and that we have an eternal inheritance awaiting us in God's kingdom. So it's not just about surviving the apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
It's about living lives that reflect the values of God's kingdom here and now.
That's right.
It's about being agents of hope and transformation in a world that desperately needs it.
Absolutely. Revelation challenges us to be salt and light in the world, to shine God's love and truth into the darkness. It calls us to share this message of hope with others,
Yeah.
pointing them to the one who offers true salvation and eternal life.
That's good. And if you're ready to explore Revelation further, don't forget to check out the resources in the show notes.
Yes, there's so much more to discover.
There is. And be sure to share your thoughts with us on Allison Knows on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Like, subscribe, and share.
Absolutely.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the book of Revelation. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through one of the most fascinating and challenging books of the Bible.
Thank you for listening. Follow Allison on Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok. Like, subscribe, and share your comments to Allison Knows on YouTube.